Morning. Good morning. Let me just add a couple of pages and let's talk. Bear with me, please. I am trying to be high tech and share from the same phone to add the places, and it's a little trickier than usual. Bear with me, please. We will start talking very soon. We are going to have to just get started. When I get to the house, I will add them on from the desktop. It's trickier than I expected. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My title is pretty self-explanatory. The keepers of the pennies become the owners of the pounds. It's an expression I heard a while back, and it's one of the guiding principles for me in financial management. The keepers of the pennies become the owners of the pound. It takes 100 pennies to make a pound. You have to remember that. When you have 1 penny in your hand, it's insignificant. It can't really do much. It's easy to say that money is not significant, so we use it. I am guilty of it. The keepers of the coins own the notes. You have to remember, there are different ways of saying the same thing, but it leads to the same thing. The keepers of the pennies become the owners of the pound. When you first get your first penny, insignificant, can't change anything, not significant whatsoever. It's easy to disregard that penny and to think it doesn't change much. It does in fact. When you have 100 of those pennies, you now own a single pound. Those pennies you hang on to are beginning to transform to something significant. Once you have 200 of those pennies, you've got 2 pounds. You have 1,000 of those pennies, you've got 10 pounds. And if you keep hanging on to the pennies, if you keep taking care of the pennies build up and your pounds build up. When you get a 10-pound note, you take better care of it than 1,000 pennies. Most of us will have 1,000 pennies lying about in our houses, but we actually don't care about it. We don't collate it, we don't collect it, we don't put it together. It's insignificant. You can't buy anything with your pennies. But if you have 1,000 pennies lying about in your house, that's actually a 10-pound note. When you start looking at money cumulatively like that, it changes the way you spend the little amounts. You realize that the little amounts are the ones you need to hang on to first before the big amounts begin to show in your account. And that's what I want to discuss today. Many of us are really poor keepers of the pennies. I am guilty. When I go to a place and somebody gives me money in a word like that, it's great. I see so many things I can do with that money. I understand that I've got to be careful with that money, and I will be careful with the money because I have a wad of notes. The ones that I am not careful of are the ones, the twos, the little baby ones, these ones. And if you look in my car alone, I will show you something in a minute. I have a handful of them just lying about my house. I have another handful of them in my handbag. I have more than a handful on my bedside. I have other handfuls in other places of Appa, good morning, good morning, good morning. So let's just have a simple demo. In my car, this is just in my car. And I have to remind myself of this message every now and again. What I'm doing is a reminder to me, and hopefully a reminder to others as well. See how much I have in my hand. If I count this, I have about 20, maybe 25 in my hand. If it was a note, I would have paid it some respect. It would have made its way into my wallet because I do count them as significant. It would be in my wallet, probably in my bank account somewhere, lounging, changing things. Nadu, good morning, sis. It's been a while. It's nice to see you. If this was not in coins and it was actually in notes, Amma will hang on to it better. I would not throw money in notes in my car like that. It probably will be in my wallet. And if it was actually more significant, I will go to a cash point at the earliest opportunity to pay it in. it is less likely to lie about. It is less likely to be misused. It's less likely to be lost because it's actually a significant amount. The funny thing is that the significant amounts are made by the insignificant ones. If you learn to hang on to the insignificant ones, if you learn not to waste the little ones, if you learn to hang on and keep the little ones, they pile up and they add up to the big ones that we respect. This is my lesson today. It's a lesson on financial literacy. When I've actually managed to arrive home and I've shared this to the platforms I wanted to invite to join, I will explain the very details of it. At the moment, I am just scripting the principle. It doesn't just apply to money. It applies to time as well. When you have 5 minutes of time in between appointments, it's very easy to sit down for those 5 minutes and tell yourself it's only 5 minutes. What can I do in 5 minutes? So you sit down, you play, you don't do much with 5 minutes, and you let 5 minutes go. The funny thing is, you only have 12 of these 5-minute episodes and you've made an hour. One solid hour. During the week, if you are like typical people like me, you will waste 1 hour here, well, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, and if you actually do add it up, you would have wasted more than an hour waiting in between appointments, each occasion saying that it's only 5 minutes. You can't do anything with 5 minutes. That is a mistake. That is a mistake. You can do an awful lot with 5 minutes because 12 lots of the 5 minutes gives you one solid hour that can be used to transform life. An hour is a significant period of time. Those significant periods of time are made by insignificant little episodes of time. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I can see a few people have joined us, but as you can see, I'm on the road, so I'm not quite sure who you are. Oh, Naomi, good morning, sis. You are welcome. Do hold off a little bit. I'm still teasing you with the topic because I was hoping to share this and then talk on my way home. But I realized once I had hit the share button that it was not going to work, so we are just introducing. This is another classic example. I mean, I could easily have said that, yeah, I can't share it. I would drive for 10 minutes and get home, and then we will start it. If after all it's only 10 minutes. But this 10 minutes gives me a chance to actually introduce the topic. It gives me the chance to invite you to share the broadcast and tell people about it. Rebecca, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Naomi. It allows you to hear what I'm about to talk, what I'm about to discuss, so you can tell other people to join us. You see, taking advantage of this 10 minutes before I get home can be life transformational for this broadcast because it gives somebody a chance to help me propagate the message. But I could have easily said to myself that it's only 10 minutes. Yeah, I can't share it anyway. Not many people can hear me anyway. Let me just sit down and let me doze off. Let me think about my life, let me moan about my finances, blah, de blah, de blah. And I would get home and I would still not have started anything. That would be 10 minutes down the drain. 6 of those 10-minute episodes a week, and I have wasted an hour of my life. 6 of those episodes alone gives an hour wasted. When you think of wasting 1 hour, then you begin to realize that that time is significant. And that's what I want to discuss today. Taking care of the little ones so that the big ones are secure. Taking care of the small developments so that the big ones are possible. Starting something small and chipping at it regularly changes an awful lot of things. I will give you many examples when we actually get going, but let me start off with this. So you want to learn a skill, you want to learn a new technique, you want to do something new. When you first start, you are very, very ignorant. Every little bit you study does not really change much because it's too little. You want to go into, food production, and you've learned to cut onions, The day you learn to cut onions, it does not feel transformational because onions alone do not make food. Then you learn to blend your chilies and tomatoes and add salt and whatnot. That day, yes, you've made something. Yes, it does have some taste, but it is still not jollof rice. You are still nowhere near jollof rice. Then gradually you learn to mix your spices and to get your jollof spice blend perfect. But it's still not jollof. It is just spices, and it does not make a meal. And at that point, you have to remind yourself that what you're doing, as insignificant as it is, will transform the taste of your jollof rice when the time actually comes. But you have to keep chipping. You have to keep trying. You have to keep going. You have to remind yourself that you don't see, oh, but good morning, you don't see results instantaneously. But do believe me, that they are cumulative, they add up gradually to something significant. Eventually, when your spice blend is ready, you learn to fry your onions and you add the chilies that you learned to make earlier. Then you add your spices to the chilies. You are still not at jollof. You find out how to steam your chicken and you steam it before and you add it to this spice. Now you're beginning to get a stew. At this point, you actually can see the beginnings of your jollof rice. But if you didn't have the discipline to cut the onions, you will never get here. If you didn't have the discipline to blend your tomatoes, you will not be here. If you hadn't learned how to steam your vegetables, how to prepare your meat or your fish or whatever, it will not be ready to put in the stew at this time. But because you learned to do those things diligently, because you continue to soldier on without obvious results, because you continue to chip at it one step at a time, eventually you begin to see light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what I'm talking about right now. It's financial management. The keepers of the pennies become the owners of the pounds. 100 pennies make a pound. Each penny insignificant, but cumulatively becomes significant. 1,000 pennies becomes 10 pounds, and none of us will throw 10 pounds down the drain. In my analogy, I looked at the coins that I had in my car, and I'm about to count them officially. I just made a good morning. Good morning, sis. These are all coins that I've decided don't count. The kids take these coins and they put them in their pockets. Eventually, they'll give it to me when I need it. But look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a note. That's a 10 note. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22 and a half. That is actually just sitting in my car. And I will never throw a 20 note. I will never throw a 20 note, because I do know that a 20 note is actually a significant amount of money. I do know that I can spend 20 doing significant things. If I look in this island, I will find more coins. Listen, just the shake and you can tell there's coins in there. Listen, there's coins. Yeah, Amma is always crying about being broke. Amma is complaining about not having enough money. Amma is discussing finances all the time. But Amma also wastes a lot of money because Amma doesn't remember to be the keeper of the pennies. The keeper of the pennies is the owner of the pounds. That is my title today. Morning. Have you been or didn't you go? Morning. The owner of the pennies. Yep, more. Again, this is another area where Amma has decided that coins are not important. So Amma has left another stash of coins.
Coins are not
But disappear. What do you mean coins are not important? Don't you dare.
You just said that.
I am making a point. So stop disturbing my peace. Amma will never throw notes because notes are important. When you go around Amma's life, if you look on her bedside, if you look in her handbags, if you look around the house, you'll find many episodes of those coins that I've decided are not that important. Morning, girlie. And go sort your room, girl. Go sort that room before I come over. Right. Let's get this show on the road. So now we are ready. Nana, I'm already live. Thank you. It all becomes high-tech when you get home. Exciting stuff. Okay. Let me get this shared to 2 or 3 places and let's go. So those of you who've actually chanced on this and those of you who have been with me on the travel home, you were witnesses to what I am preaching. I still have managed to actually fit in about 10-15 minutes of a discussion. I've managed to show you quite a lot of things, but it's been done not under my ideal circumstances. I wanted to have shared this video to a couple of platforms before I kick-started into talking. But I made that decision having realized that the keepers of the penny becomes the owner of the pound, that I can't sit there and I can't wait and I can't moan, I can't complain. Manisha, good morning. Good morning, Ajwa. Good morning, everybody. Manisha, please, let's talk today, okay? Let's talk. I want to conclude our discussions. I want to make sure that you get it for Christmas, so please do get in touch and let's talk. Right, I have found the page and I'm about to share. You lost your phone. Oh. If you've got a new number, please inbox it to me, okay? Otherwise, let's chat on Messenger. That will explain it. That will explain it. All right, so I have put it on my page, I hope. I hope that you found it on the Manson page. I think that one worked, and I managed to put it on there. But it may not be on the other pages, and that's what I'm going to do quickly, briefly, so we go on. When those people join us, I will just, well, it's not a fashion show, so forgive me if you find my clothing not to your taste. I am out and I'm about and I've got so many things to do, and whilst I was doing so many things, I've managed to get a little bit of burn time in between, and that is what I'm going to use to have this discussion. I am hoping that by having this discussion, I am able to draw your attention. Nana, can you bring my laptop, please? Thank you. Yeah, there is an annoying fly. I'm gonna switch that fly trap thing on for me, please. Morning, everybody. Yeah, this is live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Davis. Let's get straight into things. Thank you for joining. I am so grateful that you take time to come listen to these. I am hoping that what I'm actually sharing today might be transformational for a lot of you. I'm hoping that it will change your mentality towards money. It will change your perception of the little things. It will make you realize how important the little things really are, because it's those little things that add up to the big things. You take Nana, excuse me. Thank you. I've already told you politely, I am live. Thank you. I don't care. I really don't care. Whatever that is, off you go. Sorry about that, folks. I am still discussing financial literacy. I am hoping that what I say will transform your lives the way it did transform my life and my thinking. And for me, it was a very simple analogy of somebody sitting with me and reminding me that when you take a penny, 1 penny, does not count. 1 penny is insignificant. It is easy to throw a penny to one side because it really doesn't matter. But Amma, will you throw a pound? 1 pound, would you throw it? No. If Amma will not throw 1 pound irresponsibly, Amma should not throw the penny irresponsibly either. This is not a penny, this is a dirham. Amma should not throw a penny irresponsibly either, because 100 of those pennies will make the pound that I value. If I understand this simple thing, if I know that I've got to take care of the little things in order to gain the big things, then I am a better keeper of the little things. And when I am a better keeper of the little things, I am more likely to be the owner of the big things. So I made an analogy with time. When you look at time and you find 5 minutes between appointments, 5 minutes in between things that you have to do, 5 minutes is not significant. 5 minutes is not a long time. You can't really change much in 5 minutes, so you let the 5 minutes go. Michael, good morning, dear. Good morning, bro. You sit down for those 5 minutes. You allow yourself to relax for those 5 minutes. You wait because it's only 5 minutes, right? Why does it matter? 5 minutes is not that long. It's okay if you waste 5 minutes. It is not okay if you waste 5 minutes, because all you need is 12 of those 5 minutes and you have wasted an hour. How many 5 minutes have you wasted this week? How many 5 minutes seemed like an insignificant period of time to you this week? How many 5 minutes have you wasted this month? Yes, Michael, it's my job to wake you up. It's become my business to make sure that you don't sleep. I am your chief tormentress, and I must wake you anytime I decide. Good morning, everybody. It's good to have you. Thank you for joining. I'm hoping that when we finish this discussion, you will give yourself a bit of time to think and ask yourself, how much waste is in your system? How much waste is in your system? That's the actual topic of the discussion. How much are you taking for granted? How much are you calling insignificant? How much are you not hanging on to because it is not the big values? If you're looking for $1,000, you need to start with the first dollar. If you don't have the first dollar, you definitely don't have the 1,000 you need. When you have the first dollar, it gives you the motivation to add the second dollar. And then you get to the $10 mark. It's still frustrating because you are actually nowhere near target. No problem. Hang on to those dollars. After a while, you will end up with 100 of them. When you have 100 of them, you are 1/10 towards your target. Still a little bit further than you would like to be. But you hang on to those hundreds, and after a while, you will find that you've built up to 200. You only have 800 to go. And then you move to 300. But before you get to 400, you will have to get to 301, 302, 303, 304, until you get to 400. At 400, you are nearly halfway there. That is where your brain begins to kick in, that you are making strides towards the target. At 450, at 500, you are halfway there. At 520, you are closer to 1,000 than you were to a 0. It's easy to be motivated when you cross those bridges. But remember, none of those things was possible until you hang on to your first dollar. None of those things was possible until you used your first 5 minutes to do something. Just call me Bukari Guy. Good morning. You will not make $1,000 if you've not made $1. You will not own $1 million if you've not hung on to $100. You will never be a millionaire unless you've been a thousandaire. But to get to 1,000, you would have to be 100-year. You have to own 100, and you have to own the tens. Sometimes you even own the 5s, the 2s, the 1s before you get there. And that's what my message is actually about today. My message is about people understanding that the little things build up to the big things. When you start a business, all the things. So I made an analogy earlier. Some of you might not have been on. I made an analogy of somebody trying to cook jollof. Jollof rice is delicious. We all want to eat it. When you get 400, you get 350 urgent issues from Africa. That's a reality. And sometimes you will. and you go back down to 50, but you remember that you've got to 400 before, and from that point onwards you just keep soldiering. You've done it before, you can do it again. It is more important getting there the first time, breaking that psychological cap you have on, that glass ceiling you've put on. You need to get to a place before you know you are capable of getting there. Once you've got there before, it's easy. So for me, on my weight loss journey, I actually am not worried, because I've done it all before. I've lost it all before. I do know that I can get there before. It's not apprehensive for me. It's just a matter of time. But on my social media journey, there are many times I look at social media things and I'm like, how do I get there? Can I even get there? Oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, Lord Almighty. When you don't know what you're doing, doubt creeps in. That is more dangerous. When you've never made money before, when you've always been poor, like I have always been poor, the whole idea, the whole concept of becoming rich is alien to you. You don't know what to do, so you make schoolboy errors. You see $1 and you think, oh, what has $1 got to do with $1 million? Well, it's $1 million of those dollars that makes you the millionaire. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to be able to hang on to the dollar, and hang on to another dollar, and hang on to a few more dollars until you get to the hundreds, until you get to the thousands, and keep hanging on to every single dollar, maximizing every single dollar until you get to the million. Journey of 1,000,000 miles starts but with a step. What do you want to do? What are your targets? Does it seem daunting? Of course it's daunting. The little things you need to do right now, the only things that you can't do right now, do not feel like they can change much. It will not get you to target quickly enough. Those are your pennies. Those are your pennies. Those are the pennies you desperately need to hang on to. You want to cook jollof. When you get to the stage where somebody teaches you to cut onions, the person has not taught you how to make jollof. So the person doesn't feel like they've helped you much. It doesn't feel like you're making much progress because it's only onions. Cut those onions, cut them diligently and store them. Then you learn how to blend your tomatoes and add your chilies and whatnot, and you've got your base. It is still a blend. It is not jollof. But you hang on to your blended stuff and you plate it, you bowl it, and you keep it. People say that you need vegetables. You need to find out about these vegetable things, and you need to buy some vegetable things, and you need to cut the vegetable things and prep them and have it ready. When you do, you keep it. 3 things still don't make jollof, but you are still prepping gradually. Then eventually you discover that you need chicken or you need meat, and the chicken or the meat needs to be prepped, so you cut it. You use a bit of your onions and you use it to steam it. At that point you discover that you do need to add spices. Oh my God, you go and find your spices and you blend it, and you use some of your spices to make your meat, and the meat tastes it's really nice, but it's still not jollof. You only have meat. You plate it, you bowl it, you keep it, and you wait. And eventually you get to a point where somebody says to you, now put it all together and let's make a sauce. The minute the person says that to you and you get your oil, you are actually ready to go. You are different from somebody who was waiting to make jollof, because you do have the makings of the stew, at least. Your onion goes in, you fry your onions. The blend you made with the tomatoes goes in next. Oh my God, you're beginning to have a sauce. Vegetables go in. Ooh, it looks nice. At this point, you might even use some as a stew. You add the meat or the chicken to it. You add a bit of salt and you add some more spices, and yummy, it's a fantastic stew. When you get to the stew stage, it is so easy to imagine jollof, because you are nearly there, very nearly there. The only thing left to do is to add the rice. When the rice goes in, and you wait and you check, make sure it doesn't burn, and you have made jollof. You have made jollof by doing it a step at a time. You have made jollof. Hassan, good morning. Hassan, good morning. How are you? You've made, Clement, good morning. You've made jollof by learning to cut onions. You've made jollof by learning to blend tomatoes and chilies, by learning how to steam the meat, by diligently cutting your vegetables, by staying with somebody who is a master chef to go through the process, by watching,
by observation, by practice, by making mistakes, by refining, by getting it better, and then you make jollof. Who says your first jollof rice is going to taste wonderful? It just might, but it might not. But now you do know how to do it, so the next time you start the process, you are a whole lot quicker and you get it done. The owners, the keepers of the pennies become the owners of the pounds. That is what I want you to remember. Then, thank you. Thank you very much. My pleasure. The keepers of the pennies become the owners of the pound because the pennies add up to the pounds. How effective is your money management with the pennies? That will determine whether you become the owner of the pounds. If you are careless with the pennies, you will not see the pounds. You have to remember the simple fact. If you do not respect the pennies, if you don't learn to diligently utilize these pennies, that you don't have the capital you want for the business, but you have little bits dripping in, you will have to learn to maximize the little you have dripping in. So I was sat here yesterday talking to Minister about business, and we decided to value the machines that we've bought. And he looks at me and he's like, how? I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, I don't know because I started with just a laptop and then I bought some software. Then I realized that that alone was not going to work. So we cried and we saved and I crowdfunded. And then I bought the machine that I wanted to design with. Once design was in place, we needed to start looking at printers. Buying the printers was not instantaneous. Actually, I went for a period of about 2 months where I did not have the printers. I actually went to other people with printers and got them to print for me. The amount of money they charged me per sheet was ridiculous, but I had no alternative than to keep going. I took contracts, I went to other people to print. They took a lot of the money from me, but then the little bit of those from those contracts eventually led me to buy the printers. So now I do have the printers in place. Now I needed the machinery to cast, so that became my next focus. Working, hanging on to a little bit. Clement, be careful, be very careful. Good morning, bro. Hanging on to the little pennies until eventually I bought the first machine, and then we bought the second machine. Then we realized we needed more machines. At the moment, I still need more machines. When I look back and I look at what we've actually managed to accumulate at the moment, it is significant. But it was never done together. Rome was not built in a day. You will have to find little targets. You will need to find the discipline to do the little things. And when the discipline to achieve the little things is found, the possibility of achieving the bigger things exists. It is now possible for me to springboard from this little humble beginning and dream and aspire to make better. Yes, I would like it to be a factory with many machines, but it's going to be built one machine at a time. One machine purchased with tears and sweat at a time. One machine which requires that I sit on my backside and learn how to manage and to man myself. One machine that I have to get in control of. One machine I need to understand. And at the moment, one machine I need to take another person on a journey with. But in this gradual process, just in this diligent, simple exercise, you will see growth becoming possible because of an initial step. That commitment to go, the decision to establish, without knowing how it was going to be done, without looking at the big picture, a small chunky target at a time, a small chunky step at a time. Working towards something which is manageable and seems achievable to me. One manageable thing after another manageable thing after another achievable thing becomes a sequence of achievements. And I can sit here right now and I can look at things retrospectively and I can just honestly tell you, I haven't got the foggiest how these things happened. I can't tell you. When I add it up, it is mind-boggling. It is awe-inspiring. It is. But each one of them was one small step. One small step of not overthinking the ultimate aim. One small step of making sure something little has been done. One small step of making sure the 5 minutes I have is being utilized effectively. that my drive from work is being used effectively, that the time I have on the toilet is being spent reading, and that's the truth. The time that I'm actually sat on a bus is spent watching and reading and learning and developing. That YouTube is my friend, not to go watch nonsense, but to learn and to develop. Remember, the 5 minutes is not significant, but you need 12 of those 5 minutes to waste an hour. 10 minutes is still not significant, but all you need is 6 of those 10 minutes and you've wasted an hour. You need 24 of those hours and you've wasted a day of your life. We have a lot of waste in our systems. I've shown you still wastage in my system. I still haven't conquered all the pennies. Some of the pennies are slipping through and ending up in my car. Today, I'm going to gather those pennies. I'm going to take them to the shops. I'm going to spend them buying stuff rather than my notes, and I will hang on to the notes better. I want to pause here. I want to stop here and give you a bit of time to reflect. I am not going to spend my notes today buying stuff. I am going to go around this house and I'm going to collect all the coins, and I'm going to spend the coins in place of the notes, because I do know that I respect notes. I do know that I'm more likely to hang on to notes. When I have spent the coins instead of the notes, I will hang on to those notes for dear life. When the notes pile up and it becomes significant, I will take those notes to the bank. When those notes end up on my plastic card, I'ma respect every penny on my card. But the penny on my table is not valued in the same way as the penny in my bank account. They are still the same value, but it's a mindset thing. I was not raised to respect the pennies on the table, to respect the pennies in my car, to respect the pennies that I have left in other places. I need to reteach myself the value of the penny. Whether it's on a plastic or on my table, it is still a penny, and it is still a very significant amount of money towards my ultimate aim of financial independence. My name remains Amma. I have so much more to talk about today, but I want to leave them in little chunky bits that are easy to process. Kofi, good morning. Oh yes, you have to talk to people as you're learning. Teaching other people whilst you're learning consolidates your learning is actually a principle, it's a pedagogical principle. Being able to explain to another person consolidates it in your own brain. It solidifies it for you, and you own that knowledge and you can apply it. William, good morning. I am still learning and discovering, and I'm hoping that by sharing my learning and discovery invites you to do something similar. And when you learn something new, you do share with the rest of us. I would like to wrap this up, but I'm going to ask for a short period of time for those of you who have found other ways in which you could apply this message. I've applied it to a simple scenario in my life, and I'm hoping that you would also find applications for it in your own life. Nadu, what can you do with this information? Ajwa and Clement, what can you do with this information? William, what can you do? Kofi, Ben, what can you do with this information? Where do you have places in your life where efficiency is not as good as it should be? Financial efficiency is not as high as it should be. Management of the pennies is not as effective as it should be. Are you hanging on to your pennies in your dream to become the owner of a pound? Or are you throwing out your pennies and still hoping that you will own a pound? If you're throwing out your pennies and expect to own a pound, I think you're a little bit of a nutter. You will never own the pound unless you learn to hang on to the pennies. That you give the pennies a chance to accumulate and to add up until you get to a pound. The rich people you know, the people you know now that you cite, they have all had to start from a point. They have all learned to hang on to pennies before. and the pennies have added out to the pounds that you brag to people about, that you tell people about. Don't give small monies chance. Hang on to every single one of them. Make sure that every penny that falls in your palm is accounted for, that every penny that you earn, every penny you see, every penny that comes in contact with you can be accounted for, and you hang on to them as long as you can do until they build up and pile up for you to use for significant projects. That is the long and short of it. Now, you summed it up beautifully. How can you apply it is my question. You may decide to type it out. You may decide just to reflect on it. That's fine. How can you apply this principle to your own life? How can you use that to change things for you? How can you transform your finances with this little shift of a mentality? It's only £20. Let me just buy it. It's a shoe I don't need, but it's £20. But when you come to your wardrobe, you have 50 of those £20 shoes. None of those shoes you can actually wear because they are cheap. The heel does not allow you to walk. You get bruising every time you try to wear it. I own many of such shoes. When you add the 50 times 20, how much does that bring you to? How much does that bring you to? Kwamikodia, good morning. Good morning, good morning. How much money have you wasted in your episodes of 50 shoes, each costing 20? That money could have bought you some proper shoes. That money, if you hang on to, could have got you more comfortable shoes. You could have bought shoes that would be more usable to you. Shoes that would be more friendly to your feet. Shoes that are likely to be made use of. Your 50 pairs of useless shoes do not mean anything when it comes to dressing up. But learning to hang on to those £20 until you actually have enough to buy a good pair of shoes, that's the difference between somebody who is financially literate and the rest of us who are trying and working towards it. Honorable Patrick, good morning. Where in the UAE are you? I'm also in the UAE. I am in AA. I hope wherever you are, life is treating you well. Diligent spending. Unnecessary impression to which outside world, Clement? And why do you care about this outside world? Why do they even count in your considerations? You don't count when serious people make their plans. Understand that. Visionaries really don't care about you, so why do you care about other people? I want you to think it's not just shoes. It's the monies that you spend showing off to people that you've made it and you haven't made it. It's buying that stupid rickety car, which is now going to consume all your savings to try and maintain prematurely. It would have been much better to hang on to that money and to save for another 12, 18 months and to buy a worthy car which will not sink your investments. It is better to hold off sometimes, to allow the pennies to trickle in, to pile up to some significant pounds so that you can commence on projects effectively. Rita, good morning. Good morning, sis. It is better to learn to hang on to the pennies, to grow your pennies, to give your pennies the power of accumulation before you act. But you don't hang on to them too long, and that is where wisdom needs to be applied. You need to find out when you've accumulated enough, when there is no need to hang on any longer, when you have to make that money change your life and to bring progress to life. It's a fine balance to have. You have to hang on to them long enough to grant them agency, to make them significant. But there is no need hanging on beyond that point because it will not become any more significant. Money sitting in your account at some point is a waste of time. Money, when accumulated to a certain point, needs to be put to work. Knowing the differences in the times is the difference between wisdom and advice. Go find that wisdom. Go learn that wisdom. I am still looking for it. When I find it, I will share it with you. If you find it before me, please don't be selfish. Tell your sister so I can also apply it. Thank you so much for watching. I wanted this to be thought-provoking. I know it's a little bit unpleasant asking you to look inwards, to introspect, especially to introspect financially, is a very uncomfortable experience. But sometimes we have to pause and do it every now and again so that the mistakes can be minimized and the successes can be maximized. I remain your sister. I remain your coach. I remain your cheerleader extraordinaire. You know where to find me when you need me. Have a fabulous day, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. If you've not shared, can you please hit the share button for me before we go any further? Hit that share button. Put it on your homepage for me. Tell people about me and tell them about this page and what this page is being used for. And if people can subscribe to it, that would be great. That reminds me. The third and final thing I want from you is, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, can you please go subscribe for me and switch on your notification bell? I need to push that account to 1,000. I think I'm about 400 people from that 1,000. And if I can get to that 1,000, I can switch on my mobile phone just as I'm doing on Facebook and do these things on YouTube. I think doing this on YouTube will be so much easier for you to find. Clement, me too. I am a culprit of poor financial decisions. I am the queen of poor financial decisions. I invented poor financial decisions. I am the owner of poor financial decisions. But even I am trying to reform myself. I'm trying to change. I am trying to liberate myself mentally. Even those of you like me, there is still hope. We can change things. If I am able to change things and make little gains, so can you. Kwame, please share, please share. You don't know who needs to hear it. So I said to myself this morning, oh gosh, I'm busy. I've got so many things to do, but I felt really inspired to do it because I felt that there might be people like me who need to hear it. And so I've made the video. But that's the limitation of my influence. I really do need you guys to share things and to propagate the message and to get the message to people who might need it but might not necessarily know me. Sister Theo, good morning, sis. I hope that inviting you to reflect makes you realize the important things for consideration in your life. And I do hope that you also have the bravado to take action when you know. I will come your way again today, maybe 2 or 3 more times on this page, discussing things that I should have done over the last 3-4 days. And if you've not followed the page, please follow the page. If you followed a sharing from another page to get here, please. The name of the page is Transformation Inc. I will change it, but I've not changed it yet. If you search at Absolute Change, so I will change it to Absolute Change and make it easier. I think there's still a bit of confusion. People think it's Jenna's page. No, this is not Jenna's page. This is a page I made a long time, way before I even heard about Jenna. And if I knew Jenna had a page called Transformations, I would not have called this Transformations Inc. So I will change it to Absolute Change. But in the meantime, stick to it. If you go to Facebook at Absolute Change, that's my page. Follow that page, subscribe it. You will see it's called Transformations Inc. And you will see my videos on there. I think it's quite recognizable if you've gone up to my page or not. Follow it, invite other people to follow, and let's learn and grow together. Thank you so much for watching.